I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy.
Whatever he does, he accuses everyone else of doing. The man cannot tell the truth, but he combines it with being a narcissist. A narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
And my concern is that he would grab up that power and really treat the country as sort of his little bully fiefdom.
Donald Trump is everything I taught my children not to do in kindergarten.
He's been exploiting working Americans for 40 years.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
He says he's for the little guy, but he's actually built a lot of his businesses on the backs of the little guy.
You know, Donald Trump the other day said that, quote, if he tells a soldier to commit a war crime, the soldier will just go do it.
It's a reality as old as Donald Trump himself. Everyone knows and has said it out loud how deranged, self-serving, and unfit for office he really is.
And I don't think Donald Trump has even read the Constitution, knows what's in the Constitution.
A toxic mix of demagoguery and mean-spiritedness and nonsense.
I just cannot support Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a delusional narcissist and an orange-faced windbag.
Donald Trump is a con artist.
He doesn't know the difference between truth and lies. He lies practically every word that comes out of his mouth.
I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office.
They all know it, but the thirst to sit next to power is the one principle that every former Trump detractor holds above all the ones that they claim to have. So RFK Jr. decided to be the newest addition to the crew of unprincipled flunkies.
He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For the past 16 months, Bobby has run an extraordinary campaign for President of the United States. I know, because he also went after me a couple of times. I didn't like it. And I mean this sincerely. Had he been allowed to enter the Democrat primary, he would have easily beaten Joe Biden, but they wouldn't let him in. They put up rules. I've never seen rules like he had to have 65% of the vote in order to run, you know, little things like that. His candidacy has inspired millions and millions of Americans, raised critical issues that have been too long ignored in this country, and brought together people from across the political spectrum in a positive campaign grounded in the American values of his father, Robert Kennedy, a great man, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. And I know that they are looking down right now, and they are very, very proud of Bobby. I'm proud of Bobby, you want to know the truth?
The issues people have with Kennedy suddenly supporting Trump aren't about his choice to endorse and support whoever he wants. It's about the obvious departure from the beliefs that both Trump, his people, and RFK Jr. have made very well known.
RFK Jr. Now, this is the same guy that wants to eliminate all drilling, all fracking. He endorsed Bernie Sanders' climate plan called he called the NRA a, quote, terrorist group. He wants to transform police. He's praised the radical, rabid anti-Semite and racist Louis Farrakhan. He endorsed, Al Gore, John Kerry, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and claimed the 2004 election was stolen. Worst of all, he actually blamed America for Osama bin Laden's terror attacks on a radio show he co-hosted in 2014.
Have you seen how he talks about Republicans? He thinks we're murderers.
Red state people are more likely to murder you, to impregnate your teenage daughter, to commit a violent crime against.
How do Trump supporters reconcile all this? How does Donald Trump himself reconcile all this?
And I want to thank Bobby. That was very nice. That was really very nice. That's big. He's a great guy, respected by everybody. RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left liberal. He's a great guy, respected by everybody. An open border advocate. He wants those borders to be wide open for more people to come in from prisons and mental institutions, and he's anti-military and he's anti-vet.
He's a great guy, respected by everybody.
I lived with RFK Jr. in New York and watched him convince Governor Cuomo to make environmental moves that were outright nasty and really bad for the state.
He's a great guy, respected by everybody.
We have the highest energy costs anywhere in the country, and that's because of RFK Jr. He was a disaster. Upstate New York was not allowed. I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last about a year or two longer than it would with Jr. It would collapse almost immediately.
Now, I've seen MAGA folks that are celebrating and defending this odd coalition, claiming that it's what unity looks like. But what are they unifying around when they're extraordinarily far apart on about 99% of policies? I guess, except for these three.
And now, to throw my support to President Trump, the causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children.
Okay, free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. Forget the fact that, again, he said this.
Red state people are more likely to murder you, to impregnate your teenage daughter, to commit a violent crime against.
Murder you, commit a violent crime against you, and impregnate your teenage daughter. Whether you think those assertions about Republicans are true or not, don't MAGA supporters ask themselves, how can he be in support of Trump over free speech and the war on our children if he thinks Republicans will murder you and impregnate your teenager? Is raping your teenage daughter not included in this war on our children? And when you ask yourself these very simple questions, doesn't it look much less like unity and more like opportunity?
CBS News has confirmed independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. recently reached out to the Harris campaign to talk about a potential cabinet position should the vice president win in November. And even though he's still on the ballot in multiple states, Kennedy had a similar conversation with former President Trump last month as well. So the big question this morning is why?
According to our sources, the Harris campaign expressed zero interest in meeting with a, quote, MAGA-funded fringe candidate. It's important to remember that he did try to meet with Donald Trump back in July during the RNC, or he did rather, to discuss a unity ticket. After the meeting, Kennedy took to X to try and dispel any rumors circulating about him potentially dropping out and throwing his weight behind Trump. But just yesterday, the Kennedy campaign told CBS News that the independent candidate would be open to meeting with both Harris and Trump to discuss a unity government. Though it appears Kennedy did not appreciate being rejected by the Harris campaign, and he said he had no plans to endorse Harris.
But that's fake news, CBS, who Trump has groomed his followers to believe lie when they report anything that he doesn't like. They're going to need someone that MAGA trusts to confirm these reports.
Following my first discussion with President Trump, I tried unsuccessfully to open similar discussions with Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris declined to meet or even to speak with me.
So with only one taker for the endorsement that he was selling like a desperate used car salesman, RFK's principles shifted hard to the right. And Trump's disdain was pacified because
He said the greatest things. He would say things like he's doing a great job. Oh, he was very
About
nice.
you?
About me. That's why I could never hit him, because he was so nice to me.
it's been the scouting report on Donald Trump since he entered the political scene in 2015. If you butter him up and he needs to advance his own self and goes through you, he'll give you whatever you want. It's no coincidence that he's best friends with autocrats all over the world that don't believe in American democracy. He'll sacrifice that to satisfy his needs. So abandoning any principles that he ever claimed to have in exchange for some help from RFK is a no-brainer for him. It looks like the actual thing that these two have in common, because it's no secret that both of them are struggling while Harris is advancing, is that they probably figured teaming up is the only way to stop it.
Now, you might be wondering why exactly Donald Trump's team would want RFK's endorsement, given the fact that his campaign has been really plagued by scandal after scandal. We saw in May he admitted that a parasitic brainworm had entered into his brain and died there and caused brain fog. In a Vanity Fair article, he essentially evaded questions about allegations of sexual assault but from a former nanny. And then obviously we saw what happened with the admission that he left a bear cub in Central Park.
The evidence of how well she did is in cold hard facts. In ratings, Trump's favorite thing, 22% up from Donald Trump's acceptance speech. 7.2 million raised between 11 p.m. and midnight over the course of the entire week. ActBlue says over $100 million came in for Democratic candidates, organizations. There was a panel of undecided Pennsylvania voters, a focus group, 8 of them in there. 6, after watching the speech, are now going with Kamala Harris. Those are all hard facts that show that she did a really good job. We know about the enthusiasm being up. We know about the polls going in her direction.